When we talk about autoimmune conditions, we often think about them as unpredictable storms, lightning striking without warning. But in truth, most flare-ups have a pattern, and that pattern is often tied to silent triggers we overlook. These triggers are not always dramatic. In fact, they can hide in the foods we eat every single day, in the small, habitual choices that seem harmless. And that's precisely what makes them dangerous. We don't see them coming, and because they don't cause immediate, dramatic symptoms, we don't connect the dots between what we ate yesterday and how our body feels today. Autoimmunity is, in many ways, the body's defense system gone rogue, a hyper, alert guard dog barking at every shadow. The immune system's job is to protect us from threats, but when it starts misidentifying friendly cells as enemies, we have a problem. What most people don't realize is that diet plays a direct role in shaping this behavior. Every bite of food is not just calories or flavor. It's information. It's a coded message to the immune system. And some foods send the wrong message. Refined sugar, for example, is more than just an indulgence. It's a spark in dry grass. It triggers spikes in blood sugar, feeds harmful gut bacteria, and promotes inflammatory chemicals that ripple through the body. Gluten, for some, is like a subtle saboteur, breaking down the integrity of the gut lining and letting undigested particles leak into the bloodstream, an open invitation for the immune system to overreact. Certain oils, especially those high in omega-6 fatty acids like soybean and corn oil, add fuel to the fire, pushing the body into a chronic inflammatory state that makes healing almost impossible. The tragedy is that these foods are so normalized in our culture that avoiding them feels extreme, when in reality, their constant presence is what's extreme. We've built our diets around convenience rather than compatibility with our biology. We assume our immune system can handle anything we throw at it, but it's not designed for the relentless chemical and inflammatory load of modern processed foods. The first step in a 7-day autoimmune detox isn't about adding exotic superfoods or making elaborate recipes. It's about removing the noise. It's about giving your immune system a break from the constant stream of alarm signals. Imagine trying to sleep in a room with a smoke alarm going off every few minutes. You'd never truly rest. That's what your immune system experiences when you keep feeding it inflammatory triggers. And here's the psychological depth to this. Letting go of these foods isn't just a physical act, it's an emotional one. Many of us have deep attachments to the foods that harm us. We link them to memories, comfort, and identity. Bread at the family table, ice cream after a hard day, pizza on Friday night. Removing them can feel like erasing part of who we are. That's why so many people struggle with dietary change. It's not just about willpower, it's about identity power. But this is also where the breakthrough lies. When we choose to step away from these silent triggers, we're not just changing what's on our plate. We're sending a deeper message to ourselves that our health, our energy, and our future matter more than momentary comfort. We are telling our body, I see you, I hear you, and I will protect you. During this detox, you may feel lighter, not just physically, but mentally. When you stop flooding the body with false alarms, the mind calms too. Brain fog begins to lift, energy steadies, and sleep deepens. This isn't magic, it's biology working as it should when we stop getting in its way. And I'll be honest, this won't happen in an instant. The body needs time to trust that the danger is truly gone. That's why those first few days of a detox can feel strange or even uncomfortable. It's like the immune system is peeking out from behind its barricade, wondering if it's safe to lower its weapons. But give it that time. Because when it does, you'll notice subtle but powerful shifts, less joint stiffness in the morning, fewer headaches, calmer digestion, and a greater sense of ease in your own skin. This is the power of removing silent triggers. It's not about restriction, it's about restoration. We're not depriving the body, we're freeing it from the constant noise so it can finally listen to its own healing wisdom. If you remember nothing else from this point, remember this: healing is not always about what you add. Sometimes it's about what you stop allowing. By removing these hidden triggers, you create a space where your immune system can remember its true role, not as an attacker, but as a protector. And that single choice made over 7 days can become the doorway to a life where your body feels safe again. The storm doesn't have to keep coming. You have the power to quiet it. When we talk about autoimmune healing, the conversation often circles around what to eat. But let me be very healing is not only about adding the right foods, it's also about removing the wrong ones. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Many of the foods we consume daily, the ones that are culturally ingrained or marketed as healthy, are actually triggering our immune system to misfire. If your immune system is already in a state of confusion, sending it more mixed messages through your diet is like shouting directions in 3 languages to someone who's already lost. Chaos, frustration, and eventual collapse. Now, I want you to think about the immune system like an overprotective security guard. It's supposed to protect you, but when it becomes hypersensitive, it starts arresting the wrong people, your own healthy cells. This is the essence of autoimmune disorders. And certain foods act like false alarms, setting off unnecessary alerts, pushing that security guard into overdrive. Gluten, processed sugars, dairy for some people, highly refined vegetable oils, they're not inherently evil in a normal context, but in a compromised immune system, they can be like pouring gasoline on a fire. This is where the idea of elimination comes in. When you cut out known inflammatory triggers, you're not just depriving yourself of something, you're giving your body the gift of silence. You're turning off the static so your immune system can finally hear the right signals. Imagine living in a noisy city, car horns blaring, construction going 24/7, and then one day waking up in total quiet. That's what happens when the immune system experiences a break from constant irritation. The body uses that quiet to repair, to recalibrate, and to remember what balance feels like. People often ask me, but Dr. Oz, how will I know which foods are hurting me? That's the beauty of a 7-day detox. It's not about guesswork. It's about creating a clean slate. You remove the usual suspects, gluten, dairy, processed sugar, alcohol, and processed snacks, and you replace them with nutrient-dense, anti-inflammatory whole foods. Then, over time, you can reintroduce foods carefully and see exactly how your body reacts. It's one of the most empowering experiments you can do for your health because it puts you in the driver's seat. You become your own detective, your own advocate. And I'll tell you, the psychological impact of this process is just as important as the physical one. When you consciously choose to remove foods that harm you, you're sending a message to your body. I respect you enough to protect you. That is not a small act. It's a profound declaration of self-care. Most of us live in a constant push-pull with our bodies, trying to get them to look a certain way or perform a certain way while ignoring what they're actually asking for. Removing harmful foods is a way of saying, I hear you and I'm willing to change for you. Here's something fascinating from a philosophical standpoint. We often think of freedom as having more choices. But in healing, real freedom comes from fewer choices, specifically from removing the toxic ones. When you no longer have to debate whether to eat the bag of chips or the slice of cake because they're simply not on your plate, you liberate yourself from a constant internal struggle. That mental energy can then be redirected into more meaningful pursuits, relationships, creativity, purpose. And remember, the removal is temporary for most people. This is not about living in restriction forever. It's about living in restoration for a season so you can return to balance for a lifetime. I've seen patients who resisted elimination diets at first, convinced they'd feel deprived, only to discover a month later that they had more energy, clearer skin, fewer aches, and even sharper mental focus. They didn't just lose symptoms, they gained vitality. And that's the point. So if you're beginning this autoimmune detox, approach it not as a punishment, but as an opportunity to create a peaceful environment inside your body. See it as a conversation where your body finally has space to speak and you're ready to listen. Every time you choose a healing food over a harmful one, you're casting a vote for your own health, your own longevity, and your own quality of life. At the end of the day, your immune system is not your enemy. It's simply a protector that's been working off bad information. Removing inflammatory triggers is like giving it a clear set of instructions again. And once it understands who the real threats are and who the allies are, it can go back to doing what it does best, keeping you safe. So here's the reflection I want to leave you with. The foods you remove today might just be the reasons you feel alive tomorrow. If you can embrace that truth, even for a week, you open the door to a lifetime of healing. If removing harmful foods is like clearing the weeds from a garden, then adding healing foods is like planting seeds that will nourish you for years to come. You can't expect a barren field to flourish just because you've stopped planting weeds. You need to actively cultivate the soil, water it, and give it the right nutrients. This is the step where you shift from defense to offense, from simply avoiding harm to actively building health. And in autoimmune recovery, that's where the transformation truly begins. When your immune system has been under attack for months or years, your cells are often starved of the raw materials they need to repair themselves. Imagine trying to rebuild a house after a storm, but having no wood, no nails, no tools. That's what chronic inflammation does. It depletes your reserves so that even when you want to heal, your body is working with an empty toolbox. By introducing nutrient-dense, anti-inflammatory foods, you're replenishing that toolbox, giving your body the building blocks to reconstruct healthy tissues, calm the overactive immune response, and restore balance. Now, healing foods are not just about vitamins and minerals. They carry something deeper, bioactive compounds that speak directly to your cells, almost like a language of healing. Turmeric, for example, contains curcumin, which whispers to your immune cells, stand down, it's safe now. Omega-3s from fatty fish tell your inflammation pathways to ease off the gas pedal. Antioxidants in berries patrol your body, neutralizing free radicals before they can cause more harm. These aren't abstract nutritional facts, they're biochemical love letters from nature to your immune system. There's also a psychological shift that happens when you begin to see food not just as fuel, but as therapy. You start to approach your plate with a sense of purpose rather than guilt or impulse. Instead of thinking, what can I get away with eating? You begin to ask, what can I give my body that will help it thrive today? That's a very different conversation, and it changes the way you relate to food forever. From a philosophical perspective, this is about aligning with the natural order. For most of human history, the foods that healed us were the foods we naturally had access to. Leafy greens, fresh herbs, seasonal fruits, nuts, seeds, and clean sources of protein. The further we've drifted from that, the more chronic disease has risen. It's not a coincidence. Returning to healing foods is not some trendy wellness gimmick. It's a return to the blueprint we were designed for. There's a beautiful thing that happens when you commit to this. Your taste buds begin to change. At first, you might miss the intense sweetness of refined sugar or the crunch of processed snacks, but as you feed your body nutrient-rich foods, your palate recalibrates. The natural sweetness of a ripe mango starts to feel indulgent. The earthy depth of roasted vegetables becomes satisfying. And that's when you know the healing is reaching not just your body, but your mind. I've seen patients who thought they could never give up their favorite comfort foods, but once they immersed themselves in this phase of adding healing foods, they began to crave the very meals that were restoring them. That's not willpower, that's biology working in your favor. Your cells remember what true nourishment feels like, and once they get a taste of it, they want more. This stage of the autoimmune detox is also where you can get creative. Eating to heal doesn't mean eating bland. Herbs, spices, and diverse cooking methods can transform the same basic ingredients into dozens of different dishes, keeping your meals exciting while still serving your recovery. Think of your kitchen as a pharmacy where the prescriptions come in colors, aromas, and flavors. But perhaps the most profound shift is this: when you start adding healing foods, you're no longer in survival mode. You're in growth mode. You're telling your body, we're not just trying to get through the day anymore. We're building something stronger for the future. That mental reframing turns what could feel like a restrictive process into an empowering one. You stop feeling like a patient and start feeling like a participant in your own recovery. And I want to be very honest. This doesn't happen overnight. Just as you didn't get sick in a single day, you won't fully restore your immune system in a week. But every nutrient-dense meal you eat is a deposit into your health bank account, and over time, those deposits compound. The inflammation subsides, your energy returns, your mood lifts, and you start to experience life without the constant weight of symptoms. So as you move into this part of the journey, don't think of healing foods as a list on a paper. Think of them as partners in your recovery. Every bite is either a step toward disease or a step toward vitality, and the power to choose every single time lies with you. Remember this: you're not just eating to survive the day. You're eating to design the life you want to live. If you embrace that truth, the plate in front of you becomes more than just a meal. It becomes your medicine, your protection, and your path forward. Imagine you've spent 6 or 7 days nourishing your body with the right foods. Vegetables that whisper healing messages to your cells, clean proteins that help rebuild your tissues, and healthy fats that soothe inflammation like a cool breeze on a summer evening. You've gone through the effort of removing the irritants, clearing away the debris that was quietly choking your immune system. And now, here you are at the end of your 7-day autoimmune detox. This is the moment when most people think, I did it, now I can go back to normal. But the truth is, the next steps are just as important, if not more so, than the detox itself. Because healing isn't a one-time event. It's a lifestyle, a relationship you build with your body over time. You wouldn't plant a garden, water it for a week, and then walk away expecting it to thrive without continued care. In the same way, your immune system needs a plan for what comes after detox. And this is where so many people slip. They treat the detox as an isolated moment instead of a launch pad into a new way of eating and living. What happens when you finish your detox is a delicate transition period. Your gut lining is more balanced, your inflammation markers are down, and your immune system is calmer. But it's also a time when the wrong foods can throw your body back into chaos. You need to think of this stage as introducing a newborn to the world, gently, patiently, and with respect for its fragility. That means reintroducing potential trigger foods one at a time, watching carefully for signs of immune distress, fatigue, bloating, skin reactions, mood changes, or joint pain. Your body speaks through these symptoms, and this is the time to listen more closely than ever. Think of your 7-day plan as a reset button. What follows is the programming. If you go back to processed foods, refined sugars, and inflammatory oils, you essentially overwrite all the healing your body just accomplished. But if you continue with the principles you've learned, prioritizing whole unprocessed foods, balancing your blood sugar, hydrating properly, and keeping your meals rich in antioxidants, you're giving your immune system the gift of sustained peace. This is also where mindset plays a critical role. You can't carry a diet mentality into long-term health. Diets are temporary, restrictive, and often associated with willpower battles. Healing is not about deprivation. It's about building a new normal that feels natural, satisfying, and joyful. If you look at your autoimmune friendly foods as medicine you have to take, you'll eventually rebel against them. But if you reframe them as tools that give you energy, reduce pain, and extend the quality of your life, they become a source of empowerment rather than restriction. There's also an emotional layer to this work. Autoimmune conditions are not just physical. They have a deep psychological component. Chronic inflammation changes your mood chemistry. It can make you more anxious, more irritable, or even depressed. Likewise, the foods you eat influence your neurotransmitters, those chemical messengers that control how you feel. So as you move forward from your detox, it's important to nourish not just your immune system, but also your mental state. Foods rich in omega-3s, magnesium, and B vitamins are particularly powerful here. And beyond food, prioritize sleep, reduce chronic stress, and find ways to cultivate joy, whether that's through nature, hobbies, or connecting with people who lift you up. The beauty of this transition stage is that it's also a time to rediscover trust in your body. Many people with autoimmune conditions feel betrayed by their immune system. They think, my body is attacking me. But in reality, your immune system isn't your enemy. It's an overprotective friend who's gotten confused. The detox helps calm that confusion, but it's the consistent lifestyle choices afterward that rebuild the friendship. Every nourishing meal, every restful night's sleep, every mindful breath is a way of saying, I'm on your side. And perhaps the most important thing to remember is that this isn't about perfection. It's about patterns. If you slip up and have something inflammatory, it doesn't erase all your progress. It simply gives you feedback about what your body can and can't tolerate right now. Use that feedback as data, not as a reason to feel guilty. The goal isn't to live in a bubble. It's to live in a body that feels strong, stable, and at peace. So as you leave the structure of your 7-day autoimmune detox, see it as crossing a bridge into a new chapter. You've done the clearing. You've made space for healing. Now it's about protecting that space, nurturing it, and letting your immune system continue to thrive in this new environment. The power is in your hands, not just for the next week, but for the rest of your life. And if you take one thought away from this journey, let it be this: the foods you choose every day are not just calories, they are instructions. Every bite is a message to your immune system, telling it either to fight or to heal. Make your meals your allies, and your body will reward you with the kind of health that feels effortless, natural, and deeply alive.